Welcome to the Trashcats Trashcast. I'm Richard,
I'm Steven.
and today we're going to talk about goth kids.
Yes. Goth aesthetic. This will be fun.
Hell yeah. First, Steven, how was your week?
It's so goofy, right? As a former and recovering goth kid, it's so goofy, right? God.
Yeah.
Man.
There's a lot going on there.
It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. My week's been going okay. I jokingly wrote in the notes that I was just going to read Cradle of Filth lyrics to describe my week, but not much. Not much new. I did apply for the first job since passing my certification. And I always feel, we were talking last week, I don't naturally feel hopeful. But when I start on a new job application, I start feeling pretty good. And then I get to the question about prior legal convictions.
Oh, damn.
And I'm always like, yeah, I'm probably not getting this job. But I'm going to try to put out one a day and, hopefully get lucky. But overall, just chilling. What about you, man?
Jack shit, same old shit, man. It's been a pretty uneventful week, which is good.
Yeah.
Uneventful's better than shitty, so...
Chilling.
Been catching up on sleep and doing chores around the house. I did do a bunch of meal prep the other day and got to sit outside by the grill and sunshine.
Oh my God. Those photos you sent me, dude.
It's so fucking good.
It's torture being your friend sometimes. It's ridiculous. This food you sent me looked so fucking good.
Hey man, if you lived up here in the D, I could, bring you some food.
The D. Man, that Detroit documentary, White Boy Rick, fucking
I gotta watch that one.
Dude. Oh my God.
So I know you got some honorable mentions this week.
Yeah, I'll kick it off with this first one. So far, this is the only honorable mention artist we've done twice, and it's only because I really like this dude's art so much. Can you help me out with the pronunciation?
Yes, it is Takato Yamamoto.
Yeah, I finally feel like I got Yamamoto down, but I can't. His first name gets me every time. So I sent you two pictures in the chat. And all right, now here's what's interesting with his work. So when we post these, I will try my best to get the titles, but I know the second one specifically, like he has so much work that like I think went out in unofficial posts. I can't find the titles to half of his work. It's crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen such a popular artist at the same time where it's so hard to find the titles of their stuff. But I just love these two pieces. It's the ultimate Japanese goth artwork. It's so fucking evil.
Fucking absolutely gorgeous.
I
so many intricate details of the like floral and necrotic nature.
Yeah. This first one is he's titled as a painter on this one, but I'm we've talked about it in our ukiyo-e episode. This second one is definitely a print. Woodblock.
The second one is a print?
I'm almost positive. Because he's
fucking bonkers.
He's done some print stuff, and I'm fairly positive that is a woodblock print. I'm so envious of his blacks. The texture and depth of his black.
Oh, yeah.
It's outstanding. It's that like pixelated, not even pixelated, just like grainy purple black. It's so deep. These figures just pop so much.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we'll share those pictures. He's the best. All right, the second one is Little Castle on Instagram. I think you'll think this dude's fun.
You dropped the profile name there, and I realized that a bunch of people that I follow also follow.
Yeah,
his work.
So he does some kind of cheesy stuff, but he does some really fucking cool shit too. He'll like spray paint castles on t-shirts or design 3D castles or tattoo castles. It's all like castle related art, and it's so fun to watch him build these castles on a blank page. It's just so cool. I really like the shirts too. or there's a fur jacket, and it's got kind of like a Russian style. It's like maybe 10 rows down or something. The Instagram is at Castle BASAS.
Oh yeah, this jacket looks fucking dope.
Fucking dope. And the leather jacket with the painted castle on it too. It's all
actually the leather jacket kind of reminds me of like those the wolf t-shirts.
Yeah.
It kind of had that vibe to start with. Much prettier, but
right. I love some of his designs too. Of the castles themselves, like the different gates and towers and stuff. So cool. I think he is also a rapper, and I know I've only listened to like 1 or 2 songs, and it definitely was not my thing. Very, very much not my thing. But I think this art is it's just so much fun. I think it's just really fun. Rad Castle Goth Kid art. And then the last one we listened to as our warm-up song, we did Velvet Acid Christ, one of my old favorites. We did the tracks Faithless and Ghost in the Circuit. Ghost in the Circuit, one of my most beautiful tracks, favorite instrumental track ever. So beautiful.
I still remember the very first time. It was one of the first times that we were had met and we were talking in school, and we were talking about music, and you said something about, have you ever listened to Velvet Acid Christ or something along those lines? And I was like, no, but it sounds fucking so rad.
It's the best name ever.
It's so good.
So good. Yeah, man. This song, like, he does a bunch of like grimy industrial music, but some like really, this song is like cuddling a cloud. So beautiful. It was one of the only songs, like, before my grandpa passed, like, I would play music for the fireworks because we got sick of WBN's bullshit, and this was like the song he always wanted to hear. And it's so, we never think, I don't know, wouldn't think my old grandpa would like a Velvet Acid Christ song, but it's just that right. It's that pretty.
Yeah, really pretty good shit.
Yeah. All right, done with honorable mentions. What's up today?
Oh man. Fucking goth kids. So like we talked about doing, like, we want to talk about some of the history of like where the word goth comes from, and and how it's transformed into what we know today as eyeliner wearing all black cringy kids.
Do you remember the first time you saw a goth?
No, I feel like I grew up with it, and like, I don't know, I grew up listening to like Ozzy Osbourne when I was a little kid.
You had some exposure, yeah.
Yeah, I had a little bit of exposure there where like I was into that, and like I feel like I was a goth kid before I realized what goth kids were. Or at least I was wearing that style, even my dad used to make rag on me for wearing black all the time.
That's funny.
Even when we moved down to Florida, I'm like wearing black in the heat, and it's like,
it's the only way to know how.
It's all the clothes I got.
Right. Dude, I remember, for some reason, my memory of goth kids and Dragon Ball Z are directly tied together. Because it's like first grade or something, and I didn't know what either were. And I remember some kid at school like explaining to me what Dragon Ball Z and Gothic people were, like the same day or something. So they're like, I think
that kid was cool as fuck.
Yeah, shout outs to that kid. I don't know who it was, but I remember like seeing like Gothic people for the first time and thinking it was so cool, but also like that they were like albino people. Like it was like a race of people that I didn't know.
Oh, that's salty.
Yeah, I was like, what is that? That's so cool. What happened to them? What's wrong?
They're just sad, Stephen.
Right.
They're just sad. They're misunderstood.
And then, what do you know? We became goth kids.
Yeah.
So
I liked your phrase of recovering goth kid.
I'm trying not to be, but can't help ourselves.
You can't help it, man.
So you want to kick us off with some history? Goth kids through history.
So here's the fun. Cool thing about it. I can't ever help but picture, when you read about some of, the ancient goth people, all black with piercings and eyeliner on. And I think of that when I think of the ancient Gothic people, like a growing community of Hot Topic employees. Just
slowly taking over the world.
Yeah, taking over the Roman Empire and shit. Like, fucking so bonkers.
Honestly, it helped me a lot when you explained where their land is today, but we'll get to it.
Yeah. So the etymology of the word Gothic, it's English. It comes from the 17th century. It's a late Latin Gothicus. It's the mix of the two words goth and ick. Ick is usually a tongue or language. Various usages of the adjective are introduced nearly simultaneously in the first half of the 17th century. The literal meaning of the Goths is found in the 1611 preface of the King James Bible in reference to the Gothic tongue.
Of course,
right.
They're in the Bible. Of course,
yeah. The generalized meaning of Germanic Teutonic.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm not 100% sure on. I think I did look that up actually in notes, and I forget what it was, but I think it just related to also. Relating to Teutons. No, it's a branch of the Germanic area,
and that appeared in the 1640s.
Yeah, so that meaning appeared in the 1640s, reference to the medieval period in Western Europe and specifically the architecture of the period. It was kind of meant as an insult, like a barbaric style is kind of what it meant when they said Gothic architecture. That also appeared in the 1640s, as does reference to Gothic characters and Gothic letters and typography.
So it was like a weird, almost like a slur.
Yeah, they used it like, these are the barbarians that,
right.
built like this. And, everyone was trying to move on to the Renaissance shit. But we'll detail that in a little bit here. So the Goths were a Germanic people who played a major role in the fall of Western Roman Empire and the emergence of medieval Europe. Possible early Goths are documented as living near southern Poland in the 1st century. From the 2nd century, they expanded southward toward the Black Sea. By the 3rd century, they contributed to the formation of the culture that is now in what is now Ukraine, Romania, and Moldova. By the 4th century, at the latest, several Gothic groups were distinguishable. In the late 4th century, the lands of the Goths were invaded from the east by the Huns. The aftermath of that event, several groups of Goths came under Hunnic domination, while others migrated further west or sought refuge inside the Roman Empire. So Goths who entered the empire would form the Visigoths. Under their king Alaric, they began a long migration, eventually establishing a Visigothic kingdom in Spain.
Those
Meanwhile,
are such good names.
Right?
They're
Fucking
so
cool.
Good. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Goths under Hunnic rule gained their independence in like the 5th century. Notably, this is where the Ostrogoths came from.
Oh, the ostrich Goths?
The
Goths riding
Goths.
ostriches?
Yeah, the Hot Topic employees rocking ostriches.
Right.
Under their king, Theodoric. I
so.
think that's how that would be pronounced. Theodoric the Great. These Goths established the Ostrogothic kingdom in Italy. So the Ostrogothic kingdom was destroyed by the Eastern Roman Empire in the 6th century, while the Visigothic kingdom was conquered by the Umayyad Caliphate in the early 8th century, which was the Muslim army. Remnants of Gothic communities in the Crimea, also known as the Crimean Goths, lingered on for several centuries, even though Goths would eventually cease to exist as a distinct people. That would be until the 20th century when they all emerged.
Gotcha. And it's so It's interesting how many different areas the Goths involve. It's not as small, like it's a lot of different cultures involved. But what helped me when we were researching, you were explaining, so the Goths are a Germanic tribe, but today their territory would be mostly in Romania.
And then they had ties with Spain and Italy there. So Italy was like a smaller situation, it seems like, from the research, but like mostly like Romania and Ukraine and stuff like that.
So it's, we think of Goths today with very pale skin, but the reality is these people back then as a Germanic tribe, it could have been a very wide, variety of skin color too.
Oh yeah.
So Gothic architecture, I fucking love this stuff. It's an architectural style that is particularly popular in Europe from the late 12th century to the 16th century during the High and Late Middle Ages. It evolved from Romanesque architecture that was succeeded by Renaissance architecture. The term Gothic was first applied contemptuously during the late Renaissance by those ambitious to receive the Grecian orders of architecture. The defining design elements of Gothic architecture is the pointed or orgoval arch. Gotta have the pointed arches. Those are the best, right?
Yeah, that's like the critical
classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. The primary engineering innovation and one of the other characteristic design components is the flying buttress.
Oh boy.
Such a good name. What were you saying earlier, that the flying buttress was kind of like a cheap thing to use, but it
was like
cool.
a kind of an old school method to at the time when the Goths came up with it, it was like, enabled them to add extra stories without, while adding support but it was from the outside, so it was more prone to attack. So it, wasn't as popular later on. But I think they look so fucking cool.
So cool. The use of the pointed arch in turn led to the development of the pointed rib vault and flying buttress, combined with elaborate tracery and stained glass windows. You gotta have the stained glass windows.
Yes, stained glass is where it's at. Those are one of my favorite things even about churches is the stained glass, stuff. It's it can look so pretty and so good. Even without a picture or design, I really like that aesthetic.
Yeah, because so many of the figures, like I love religious iconography and imagery, but so much of the stuff on stained glass windows, it often isn't good because it's limited by the medium. Mm-hmm. If you notice, they always have floppy hands. Like they're holding things, the fingers are always floppy. But there's some really beautiful ones. I really love the colored light reflecting on things. There is something magical about the aesthetic of a church. I didn't realize for a long time they're typically designed out of the shape of a cross. Mm-hmm. I think you had told me that earlier.
Is it true that with older stained glass windows, the the black in them, was that lead traditionally?
I've heard that. I don't know.
I feel like I just remembered that, which would explain a lot of people getting sick. And
it's a hell of an art. It was a bummer when that the rose window in the Notre Dame Cathedral, isn't that the one that got fucked up? That was a beautiful window. Common examples are found in Christian architecture and Gothic cathedrals and churches, as well as abbeys and parish churches. It is also the architecture of many castles, palaces, town halls, guild halls, universities, and even some homes. With the development of the Renaissance architecture in Italy during the mid-15th century, the Gothic style was supplemented by the New Style. But in some regions, notably England and Belgium, Gothic continued to flourish and develop. Eventually, a series of Gothic revivals began in the mid-18th century England, spread through the 19th century Europe, and continued largely for churches and university buildings into the 20th century. And you mainly see it in the churches and university stuff, but you were telling me, what was it,
the Carpenter Goth? That's that's a real style that's used in I think it was like houses, 1950s, right? Era homes and stuff, where it just has the aesthetic pieces of the Gothic architecture of like kind of just like designer, more just like I said, made for aesthetic kind of choices.
Gotcha.
That kind of reflect that Gothic style.
And it has to be built, of course, by a Gothic carpenter. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Gothic Jesus. Technically, no, I was going to say Jesus could have been a goth, but the whole placement doesn't make sense. I take it all back.
That desert wizard isn't even real.
Zombie desert wizard.
Shit.
So we're going to get, we did a little bit of the history there, but like we really want to, the goth subculture. I think that's how so many people relate to what Gothic is and what they think of immediately. So Goth as a subculture began in the United Kingdom during the early 1980s. It was developed by fans of Gothic rock, an offshoot of post-punk music genre. The name Goth was derived directly from the genre, which itself was defined as a separate movement from post-punk. The Gothic rock was actually a reference to Gothic literature, which had been romanticized in the previous couple centuries for its combining romance and dark elements to produce mystery, suspense, terror, horror, and the supernatural. Settings were framed to take place at ruinous castles, gloomy churchyards, claustrophobic monasteries, and lonely mountain roads. Typical characters consisted of cruel parents and sinister priests, courageous victors and the helpless heroine, along with supernatural figures like demons and vampires, ghosts and monsters.
That's the best list ever.
Right, exactly. Often the plot focused on characters ill-fated, internally conflicted, and innocently victimized by harassing malicious figures. Basically, the bullying of Gothic kids started pretty early. In addition to dismal plot focuses, the literary tradition of the Gothic was to also focus on individual characters that were gradually going insane.
Dude, did you ever play that game Amnesia?
I've never played it, but I watched Run Button play it.
Yeah, same. I've actually just watched it too. It looks so fun. You have like an insanity meter. If you go into the dark too long, you go insane quicker.
I think Amnesia, or not Amnesia, I'm sorry, Eternal Darkness has something similar too.
It's a
just cool, yeah.
Fun game mechanic for sure. We were talking earlier. Think about how many goth kids were created by Tim Burton and Nightmare Before Christmas and shit.
Yeah, just how the awakening that had of like, oh, this is cool. Like I like because it makes the monster more relatable and friendly and fun. And
I knew some kid like still in high school. He tattooed, like he made a shitty tattoo gun thing, and he tattooed one of the monsters on his hand. And it looked...
Was it Oogie Boogie?
I don't know. It was one of the swirly ones. I forget what the name of it. But it was like so bad and like infected and blown out. And he it's been on his hand his whole life now. It's like, oh man.
Done fucked up, kid.
It's so bad. So definitely the music's a huge part of the whole goth thing. So Gothic rock stood out due to its darker sound, with minor bass chords, reverbs, dark arrangements, or dramatic music, and melancholic melodies. Having inspirations in Gothic literature, allied with themes such as sadness, existentialism, nihilism, dark romanticism, tragedy, melancholy, and morbidity. You have to have the morbidity. It's all about death. These themes are often approached in a poetic way. All goths want to be poets, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Or they are, and they're just bad poets.
Like Poe.
Read my sad poetry, please. Dude, that's the worst, isn't it?
It is.
It's bad if you have a friend that's a poet. It's it's a lot of sacrifice.
Said the friend who's kind of a poet.
Shit. These sensibilities of the genre led lyrics to represent the evil of the century and the romantic idealization of death and the supernatural imagination. Gothic rock then gave rise to a broader goth subculture that included clubs, fashions, and publications in the 1980s, 90s, and 2000s. the goth subculture survived much longer than others of the same area. Dude, it's weird. It like goth kids last forever.
Yeah.
I think juggalos are going to be kind of the same. Like they're never going away.
Right. No, it's a niche that's been made, and as long as, you know, it's something that, you know, angsty teens and preteens can latch onto.
Yeah.
You know, that's exactly.
A part of it's definitely because it could be as simple or perceived as simple as just wearing black. So it's easy to like, be a goth. But like punk's dead. Goth is going to survive for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
It has continued to diversify and spread throughout the world. There's all these offshoots, different scenes. A lot of the scenes are centered around music festivals, nightclubs, and organized meetings, especially in Western Europe. The subculture has associated tastes in music, aesthetics, and fashion.
Yo, can you imagine going to an organized goth meeting?
Honestly, the only things I can really picture are some of these other offshoots, like the Satanism or vampirism. I feel like the normal goth kids probably aren't getting together as much. But there are conventions, too.
Oh, yeah, you know, like LARPing and shit.
Dude, that's the worst.
I mean, they're not doing, like, the LARPing like they're, you know, playing Dungeons and Dragons shit, but, like, they show up in costumes.
Yeah.
Basically.
I can't imagine that. That's so brutal. That's so bad.
You're part of it's 2009. You're part of a MySpace group.
Oh my God.
And it's local Cincinnati goths, and they're having a meetup at the Dave and Buster's. Or, you know, like under the bridge, you know, under the overpass, like.
Oh my God.
Somewhere, and you know, you show up and there's like, you know, somebody brought a cooler with some flat Mountain Dew in it and a couple pizzas, and
it's all cold.
It's just a bunch of goth kids standing around in their you know, full makeup and
smoking clove cigarettes under the underpass. I remember like the first time I had a clove cigarette, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then like years later, I'm like smoking a pack a day of real cigarettes, and somebody gave me a clove. I'm like, the fuck is this?
What am I, 12?
Smoking catnip over here? What are we doing?
Oh man, is this fucking elementary school again? What are we doing? This is grade school, dog.
Oh shit.
Oh, fucking A. Like we said, the music preferred by goths include a number of styles aside from just gothic rock, including the death rock, post-punk, cold wave, dark wave, ethereal wave, black metal, shoegaze, dungeon synth, and all kinds of other weird shit.
Now, real quick, honestly, I think when genres get this specific, it's kind of like bullshit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
I understand how it can fit this way, and it's easier to describe like, oh, it's synthy, but it's not like this other synthy thing you've heard. It's, you know, it's, you can picture like the dungeon, you know, synth kind of thing. Like you can picture that kind of like vibe, I guess, a little bit.
Now, if you had to pick two of just the ones we listed, what are you going with?
Honestly, I'm dungeon synth, and I'm not big into like post-punk and all that.
No.
Like ethereal wave sounds cool.
It sounds cool. But it
black
doesn't
metal,
sound cool.
I know I can't listen to a lot of black metal in one sitting.
Yeah.
That's too heavy for me. I don't like like heavy in the way that it's like pulls down on my emotions.
Yeah, it's black metal is probably my favorite, but it makes me want to kill myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it's designed to do. I think if I had to pick two, I'm going with shoegaze and dungeon synth. I like both of those a lot.
Yeah. In addition to the music, the styles of dress within the subculture draw on the punk, new wave, and new romantic fashion. The style most often includes dark, usually black attire, dark makeup, black hair. Subculture has continued to draw interest from a large audience decades after its emergence. Right. Notable examples of goth icons include several band leaders, Susie Sue of Susie and the Banshees, Robert Smith of The Cure, Peter Murphy of Bauhaus, Roz Williams of Christian Death. Actually, I don't know that band. I feel like I should.
Most of it sucks, to be honest.
Okay, fair.
They've got a couple really good ones, and I've always loved it just because the name.
Ollie Wisdom, the leader of the band Specimen, and keyboardist Jonathan Melton, a.k.a. Johnny Slut, who evolved the Batcave style, was some British shit for you, for the rest of us Americans. Some members of Bauhaus were themselves fine art students or active artists. Nick Cave was dubbed as the Grand Lord of Gothic Lushness, which I thought was pretty funny. Nico was also a notable icon of goth fashion and music, pioneering records like the Marble Index and Desert Shore, and the persona she adopted after their release.
I like that title, the Marble Index. I'll be honest with you, I do not know that second half of names.
Oh yeah, me neither. I barely any of them before I looked them up, and there was actually, the list was longer than that, and sure. I ended up cutting out some of them if they didn't like the Specimen, like I'd never heard of it, and I looked them up and I was like, oh, these are some wild looking motherfuckers. I'm going to leave them in there.
They're too goth not to include.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, more closer to our era, it definitely was more like Korn, Manson, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite old ones, I never will pronounce this name right. Is it the Cocteau? I know you don't know. The Cocteau Twins?
Fuck, I'd never even heard of them.
It's like two gothy twin sisters that sing in languages they make up themselves. And it's like weird ethereal chanting.
That's not a thing you can just do.
It's beautiful, dude. I'm telling you, they like some of it's too weird to listen to, and then other stuff is amazingly beautiful. They have a weird like cult following.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I was so goth, I was buying that shit. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it seems like some goth shit.
It's super gothy. Oh, man. And then they all dressed crazy as shit.
Yeah.
If I could undo so many fashion choices in my life, I definitely would.
Oh, man. I can't even actually say that. Well, I can, but it's not the gothic ones. I feel like if anything, I went through a weird phase in like 7th grade, or no, it wasn't even 7th grade. It was like 4th and 5th grade, where I was wearing like khaki pants with like a white shirt or like a wife beater and like a button down shirt kind of open on top of it. And like I had like a bunch of like those like same like copy paste outfit that I just kind of cycled around.
Yeah. That's not too bad.
But before I was wearing like, I was in grade school wearing like graphic tees and shit and like, more metal shit.
Yeah. Honestly,
I literally had a black t-shirt that said heavy metal and then it had the pictures of like gold and, other fucking, rocks on it and shit.
Oh no.
So cool. I was in kindergarten. I was badass.
Dude, you have that one picture of you as a little kid at your family house. That is so funny.
Say, which one?
I don't know. There's one in particular that it was like in grade school and I think you had braids. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, that was like...
It was the first time I'd ever seen a picture of you as a kid, and I was like cracking up. I was like, of course, I love it.
That would have been like 7th grade. That was when I started getting into the Juggalo shit.
Yeah, definitely. I just wish I would have stuck to like a cleaner goth look. So I was so messy with like all my shit was like ripped up. I think I had 21 facial piercings.
Yeah, dude, you looked like a fucking mess with some of those when they'd start stretching out.
Fucking
the lip ones got wild, dude.
Dude, it got so crazy. I got jumped and I got a bunch of them ripped out, and it was just like my lip. It's just like a massacre. So ridiculous. But I just wish I like would have gone for a more subtle gothy look.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was doing too much. I was all over.
I was trying too hard.
Trying way too hard.
Did you ever have trip pants?
No, but I wore that 6-foot chain. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do remember.
It wasn't even like a pants chain. It was just like from Home Depot. Trailing on the floor 3 feet behind me.
Oh, fucking A.
How did they let me wear that into school?
I think they ended up banning them eventually. I used to wear chains. I had like chains that I'd had like old like skeleton key looking shit from like, I got from old, what the fuck's it called, like Goodwills and shit like that.
Yeah.
And I'd fashion it onto the chains, and I'd like, that would be my wallet chain shit, would be like 3 or 4 of them, and they had like keys and different metal shit hanging from it.
Right.
And eventually, yeah, so one of the teachers said something about it, probably in like, high school, early high school or something.
Yeah.
It was just like too much shit.
Too much. Every school I've gone to, they change the dress code after I leave. That chain I wore, it had like padlocks on the end of it. It was like a weapon.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what that is.
Shit.
Bust somebody's skull open with that.
So, fashion influences. One of the notable female role models is Theda Barbara. Who the fuck is that? A 1910s femme fatale known for her dark eyeshadow. And she's from Cincinnati. That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely all about the eyeshadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a huge part of the look.
Definitely. And then Susie Sue was particularly influential on the dress style of Gothic rock scene. Robert Smith, for sure. Bela Lugosi, Betty Page, Vampiria, Morticia Adams, David Bowie. I don't know Lux Interior and Dave Vanian.
Yeah. Go ahead and hit that. That's actually should be a link for Lux Interior. Go ahead and take a look at that fucker. So Betty Page. Of course, everybody likes Betty Page.
Did you watch her documentary by any chance?
No.
It's actually very fun. It's a good one.
All right, cool. And then Morticia's been played by so many people.
He's from the Cramps?
Probably. I just remember looking at him. Nope.
Dude, they're one of the best punk bands. I just don't know anything. Okay. They're like one of the few punk bands I would still listen to.
All right, cool. I'll look into it then. Carolyn Jones's Morticia was always my Morticia.
Yes.
That I liked growing up.
Definitely.
And then, classic Cassandra Peterson, aka Elvira.
Oh God, she's the best.
Oh my! Have you seen her recently?
Doesn't she still look good?
Oh yeah, she's 69. She looks amazing. She still does the annual Halloween show. I don't think she did last year for obvious reasons, but yeah, she's incredible. She looks great.
That's wild.
Good old Elvira, loved her. Gothic fashion is, like we said, it's marked by the conspicuously dark, antiquated, and homogeneous features, stereotyped usually as like eerie and mysterious and complex and erotic, a dark, sometimes morbid fashion style of dress. Typical Gothic fashion includes the colored hair, and black period style clothing is another one that's kind of more recent. Both male and female goths usually wear dark eyeliner and the fingernail polish, most especially black. Styles are often borrowed from punk fashion and more currently the Victorian and Elizabethan periods. It's more frequently expresses pagan, occult, or other religious imagery.
Real quick.
Yeah.
The weird Elizabethan and Victorian that shit's weird, right?
It's a little weird. I kind of think it's a cool style though.
It's a cool style, but it doesn't.
Yeah, not like in the classic style, but like the resurgence of it and use in the Gothic subculture. I think it's cool, but it's definitely like cosplay shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I just would never, especially as I'm older, I would never want to date someone that's that far into it all the time. Right?
I mean, all the time? No, that could get really tiring.
That and
because you can't just like go out in jeans and a t-shirt next to that, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's as adult goths, you just wear a black shirt with some cool art on it and black pants.
A band tee and some jeans.
I just wish I knew that earlier. A little bit. That's all I'm saying. But what about the occult stuff or the pagan shit's lame as fuck, right?
I think the aesthetic of some of the pagan stuff's cool. Like when I guess when I think pagan, I think like old school witchcraft shit, like really earthy and like hippy dippy.
But what if
fucking
what
shit?
if they're Wiccans? That's not good. That's not good. If I see a goth wearing pagan stuff, I'm like 50-50 on a Wiccan. We don't need them.
What's the difference between Wiccan and pagan?
Wiccan is an actual religion. It's the actual witch religion thing.
That's dumb.
It's like witch hippie shit. Like they do rituals and.
Well, that might be what I'm talking about then. Like I don't like I'm not into the idea of that. I think some of the aesthetic of like the the naturalist kind of darker gothy stuff I can dig.
Here's my big thing with the pagan thing. Anytime I see a rune, and I was into runes at one point. I thought it was cool. There's like a couple that I could kind of get interested in. But overall, if I see somebody in 2021 wearing a rune, I just think they're a racist.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah, true.
Half of them are adopted by neo-Nazi shit. So it's like, if I see somebody with them, I'm like, that dude's either a weird Wiccan or they're a Nazi. 50-50.
Yeah, exactly. It could be either one. There's no way to know unless you talk to them. And why would you take that chance?
Yeah, I just won't chance it on runes anymore these days. I'm not willing to go there.
That's absolutely fair, and no one judges you for that. That's fine. Yeah, I think anyone that if you're taking the pagan or not the pagan, the Wiccan thing like really seriously, that's too much. Like I said, I like the aesthetic, and I think that's cool, and for cosplay and stuff like that, that's fine. That's fun. Even like some of the bookish kind of stuff that I like, like some of the Skyrim-y kind of alchemy shit like that. I like that kind of vibe. But other than that, yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, and
take it seriously.
That stuff's more fun. I think honestly, both Satanism and Wiccan stuff is cooler than like Christian religion.
Oh, without a doubt.
But it's still like I feel the need to be unbiased and hate them all equally.
Oh yeah, it's still a religion. There's not
exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Like I consider a lot of my belief system based off Satanism, but I could never be a part of it.
Yeah,
it's still a organized religion.
Exactly. In contrast, like we were saying, in contrast to the LARP-based Victorian and Elizabethan pomposity of the 2000s, the romantic side of the 1980s traditional goth was characterized by new wave post-punk oriented hairstyles and street compliant clothing.
Yeah. More adult style. Now,
exactly.
Have you seen the health goth wave?
No.
It's like goth, but in white. And they're like often vegan and shit.
Oh, like Andrew WK?
Basically, if they wore white jewelry with it, and it's like all about going to the gym and like drinking water and veganism and shit. But one of my favorite,
that's so counteractive to the traditional goth thing of like wanting to die.
Right. It's odd. It's funny, but it's odd.
Yeah.
And then there was this shirt for a while going around that said it had the Nike swoop upside down. And it said, I just can't.
Yeah.
And dude, I think that is outstanding. That's
really good.
So clever. I love it.
I can't decide if it's better if I just can't or I can't even. Either one would be good.
All right. So we're going to get into the critique of the goths.
Well, yeah, kind of the social
what's wrong
perception.
What's wrong with those weirdos?
Right?
That we are a part of.
That we are and have been.
Right. Gothic styling often goes hand in hand with aesthetics, authenticity, and expression, which is kind of interesting because it's like creative or unique or authentic as a lot of goth kids is. It's kind of falling into a stereotype.
Yeah, exactly. It's different enough when you're young, but as you're older, it's like it's not really weird, I guess, to wear, blacks and neutral tones and shit.
Right. I think especially when younger, we all wanted to be part of a group, and it's a way to like signify you're cool kind of thing. But
Right.
it's just like punk, where it's like, oh, you got to have the spiky leather jacket. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Goth, it's definitely mostly considered an artistic concept. Clothes are frequently self-designed, whole DIY thing. In recent times, especially in the course of commercialization of parts of the goth subculture, many people developed an interest in dark fashion styles, which is weird because you see it in all kinds of major fashion shit now.
Right.
Where it's like, it feels weird though. And they started to develop elements of goth clothing, primarily mass-producing goods from the mall without being connected to the subcultural basics, goth music, and history of the subculture. For example, within the goth movement, they have been regularly described as posers or mall goths, which is definitely a thing. It's like the weekend warrior, the weekend mall goth kind of thing.
I feel like I was
Spencer's.
more a mall goth.
You think so?
I mean, because I dabbled, like I said, so growing up, I always thought like the Gothic, what goth people listen to was like metal and shit, which is what I listened to, growing up a lot. And like, I didn't know about, any of the, like, I wasn't into punk or anything like that or post-punk shit. That's what I listened to. And like, that's kind of what I was going for. And then I realized like, okay, that wasn't the same thing. Like, yeah, I rock Jinkos and fucking, graphic shirts and shit.
To be honest, you weren't really quite on my goth level.
Oh, not at all.
No.
I was nowhere near your goth level.
It's because you had you had a stoner vibe going. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Not full though. You weren't the full. You were cool with everybody.
That was still like 11th grade too. Yeah. By the time I had that perfected.
Since the late 1970s, the UK goth scene was pretty anti-traditional standards of sexual property.
Propriety. You had it right the first time.
And accepted the celebrated unusual and atypical sexual practices. In the 2000s, many members claim overlapping memberships in the queer, polyamorous, and BDSM communities. Yeah.
Now, there was a lot of information on this that I think the way that they phrased a lot of it was weird. So I put a lot of this in quotes.
Yeah, I agree. Because really, it just is a subculture that attracts a lot of weird people into different weird shit. Like,
yeah.
So
I in a way to not overgeneralize this, I do have a bunch of kind of quote unquote pieces in here.
Yeah.
So sexual empowerment though sexual empowerment was not unique to women in the goth scene, it remains an important part of many goth women's experience. The scene's celebration of active sexuality enables goth women to, quote, resist mainstream notions of passive femininity. There is typically an active sexuality approach and a sense of gender equality within the scene, which allows them to engage in sexual play with multiple partners while sidestepping most of the stigma and dangers that women who engage in such behavior outside of the scene frequently incur.
I will say, I feel like most goth chicks, though, are typically locked in with like a weird, edgy or goth boyfriend forever.
Yeah, I feel like at least the people that I knew growing up that were, goth kids and shit, like, didn't seem like they were sexual deviants.
Right.
Or, it wasn't, yeah.
It's just normal people.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what about the big boots?
The big boots?
The big boots and the creeper shoes.
Now, okay, the big boots, you mean like the big platform shoes and shit?
Yeah, the industrial, like, there's all kinds of different styles, but they're all big boots with heels and shit.
I mean, I like that style. It's cool.
I feel like they're going to fall.
I mean, yeah, probably.
I get worried. I'm like, oh,
but
no.
like, I mean, look at high heels too. Like, those are some bitch.
Yeah. Now, I will say almost every goth chick I've been friends with, they almost always have collages on their wall. It's always bad, ripped up collages all over the walls. It's a thing.
just glued directly to the walls.
Yeah, right next to my really bad art. It's just wall of nonsense.
Heard shots fired at Sarah.
She's good. No collages. We're good.
Okay, cool. That's fair. Another one, so androgyny is common among the scene, which often disguises or even functions to reinforce conventional gender roles. It was only valorized, quote unquote, valorized for male goths who adopt a feminine, quote unquote, appearance, including makeup, skirts, and feminine accessories to, quote unquote, enhance masculinity and facilitate traditional heterosexual courting roles. So basically, they're saying it was rad to do feminine things, but the intention was kind of like peacocking. Like, look how different and off-brand I am. Don't y'all girls want to fuck me? Like,
yeah, I definitely did that. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I do think the androgynous looks can be very cool. Like, I really, it's so, I don't know. I think it's awesome.
One of my friends and previous coworkers, they identified as they, them, they non-binary. They one of the funniest things that they thought was when people were trying to figure out what to call them, because they had a kind of a boyish appearance to them, but also really pretty. Mm-hmm. So like they loved the look on people's faces when they're trying to figure out if it's a boy or a girl.
That's a dangerous game to play, though.
Yeah, that's why it's easier just to say they for everybody if you can. That's a hard practice to get into, but
we definitely are on the same page. You just try to do your best. Whatever people want to be called, you call them.
Yeah, right? I was talking to my mom about a friend she had through work, and they didn't know their pronoun because they couldn't really tell. And I was like, just ask them.
Yeah, it's just fucking
ask. Yeah. If you're worried about it, like, and you want to continue having conversations with this person, just be like, hey, what is your pronoun? Like, what do you prefer? Like, you don't want to be a dick. You don't want to assume.
Right.
I think that's fair.
That's all you can do. Yeah. Now, what about some of the weird offshoots? Like we didn't want to go too far into Satanism because that deserves a whole investigation of its own.
Yeah, it does.
I was actually just watching, there was a new documentary on the Son of Sam slayings, and outstanding documentary. It's new on Netflix called something Son of Sam. I will say it is a very biased and kind of gross documentary because it's about this journalist story who wrote books. So there's a lot of evidence that the Son of Sam was not just one person, in that there was a satanic cult involved. But it very likely was just a couple people he knew that really weren't into Satanism at all. But this journalist was a Christian who went on to write all of these books, articles, and interviews about the Satanic Panic and during the 80s and shit. Like they were prosecuting goth kids all over the country for crimes because they were into like weird music and shit. Like D&D was like Dungeons and Dragons. People are like, oh my god, you know what I mean? It was
they're worshiping the devil and shit.
Yeah, the Satanic Panic is a very real thing. There was so we wanted to not go too far into it, but a couple of the notable cases was the Memphis 3. It was a group of 3 goth kids, and they were just into heavy metal music or whatever. And they served like over 25 years for a murder it was proven they did not commit. And to get out of prison, they had to sign one of these common contracts in a plea where you're basically like, we'll let you out only if you agree you can't legally pursue charges or compensation.
That's so fucked.
Yeah, so all the guys are out now. One of them wrote a book recently that's supposed to be very good. And then there was the McMartin preschool thing, where like these preschool teachers or whatever got accused of something by a parent, and then the county they were in sent out hundreds of letters to the community to ask if they knew of any satanic activity at the preschool. So then, like, more than 50 families came forward alleging different things, like alligators in the preschool and torture and like all this shit. Like, but
the fuck?
Dude, they're all kids. So like they were saying things like the preschool people could fly and had supernatural powers, and all of it was proven to be false. But it went on in court for like years. So it's like the satanic panic definitely is a real thing, and there's definitely aspects of it today. But anyway, to conclude on that, nearly 200 people were charged with crimes over the course of the satanic panic, and dozens were convicted. Many defendants were eventually freed, sometimes after years. 3 Arkansas teenagers, known as the West Memphis Three, were freed in 2011, almost 20 years after they were convicted of murders that prosecutors portrayed as satanic sacrifice. In 2003, a Texas couple was released after 21 years in prison. Holy shit, that's the McMartin preschool thing. Yeah. They were later awarded $3.4 million from the state fund for wrongful convictions. So it's definitely a thing. It's not nearly as big today, but there's still a lot of bias on both goth and Satanism and all that shit.
Yeah. Man, 3.4 million for...
Ain't shit.
Yeah, it's not shit.
Dude, I would use
maybe per person. Maybe.
Nah.
But still, no.
I would use every penny of that to attack the state.
Absolutely.
If I did 21 years in prison wrongly convicted. Yeah. Dude, there's that Wrongful Convictions podcast that's super good. That fights for modern day false convictions. Like, even, I think it's the ACLU. Like, it's 8 to 10% of people on death row are false convictions. Like,
that's so fucked.
And I forget which state it is. They just brought back, because their state won't, the drug manufacturers in their state won't sell them the drugs to do, sodium pentothal, whatever it is, when they inject you to die.
Yeah.
They won't sell them the drugs that pharmaceutical companies in their state. So the state changed the laws for death row that they can go back to shooting or firing lines and shit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like the states that are actively trying to kill people on death row, 1 in 10 of the people they kill is a wrongful conviction. It's fucked.
Yeah, that's really fucked up.
Now, what about like I do think there's some truth over the years to Gothic cult stuff. Not much. Not much.
I can see that. And I can see it becoming like coming from an innocent point where it's like just echo chambers of, people with similar experiences, whether they're, got bullied when they were kids or whatever, or, they like the same music and stuff. So they click up, and then, if you have, a negative influence in that, then, it can just get reverberated through all the people in that.
Yeah, I think in general, even more than like the heavy metals and stuff, I think goth stuff is a more vulnerable community of people.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's necessarily like a lot of goth cults, but I think a period of Gothic lifestyle is a characteristic with many people that struggle in different ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's, even as far as like aesthetics go, like when you picture cults, you picture, the people in the robes and the, old school, weird Latin shit, and that kind of fits that aesthetic and that vibe. So you can see where it could be attractive to, that concept can be attractive to people in that subculture.
When Heaven's Gate went out to their UFO in the sky, they were wearing the black robes and the Nike shoes.
Mm-hmm. The Nikes. I just can't.
Nikes. What about steampunk? That's a little different, but it's still goth derived.
Yeah, it's like a derived. Yeah, I think some of it is kind of cool. I like, how it can be, I like the idea of it like for a fantasy setting for like D&D shit or something. I think that's kind of fun. Because it changes the mechanics of how things work and the resources you need, and that's a fun idea. Yeah. As far as the fashion stuff goes, like once again, some of it's cool, some of it's real.
It's kooky.
Yeah, I was gonna say it reminds me of like the stereotypical like neckbeard fedora guy.
Oh,
kind of thing.
The fedoras. How could somebody still be wearing a fedora?
Let me tell you, in around probably when I was 10 or 11, I had a fedora.
I wore one even later than that.
Oh boy,
I know, but it didn't stay long. But I have fedora wearing cousins to this day are still wearing them.
Oh boy,
they're like 40, bro. That's bad. Now I think steampunk.
Now, there is a certain point. If you are an older gentleman and
with a mustache,
and you look good in a suit, and you're wearing a suit,
pinstripes,
yeah, then you can wear a fedora.
Sure,
but you have to be wearing a suit when you wear it.
Pocket chain, the watch.
But now, then even at that point, you're cosplaying as a 1950s detective, and
it can be an okay look that way.
Yeah,
I think steampunk is really cool in animation. Like in art stuff.
Yeah.
But in real life, I can't stand it. It's so impractical. It's
what
just
about cyber goth?
Oh, dude, that's the worst of the worst. I will say, even though I was super into industrial music, I always stayed away from the cyber goth.
With the neon pigtails and shit. And
you got to stay far away from that. Those people are wild. But I will say the Dock nightclub was super fun. That was like a cyber goth club. That was pretty fun.
Is that in Cincinnati?
Yeah, it's downtown.
I never knew that one.
It's right under the underpass. It's really very close to the river and an underpass.
Is that where they filmed that, with the dancing fucking cyber goth kids?
Dude, they go ham. It's just
That's so classic.
A drug It's one of the only places in like a community setting that I've done poppers or other people were doing poppers. Everybody had like printer toner and are huffing poppers while getting drunk and dancing to like EDM. It's ridiculous. Very fun though.
Isn't poppers kind of like the nitrous oxide?
Yeah.
Like the buzz you get from it.
I think real poppers are supposed to be that, but kind of like in the drug world, it's pretty much anything you huff. So a lot of times it's like chemical glues and different printer toners and like different like nail polishy things that are like hardcore industrial chemicals that you're not supposed to smell. Like
chugging on the king size Sharpies, boy.
Dude, all right, so here's a crazy one. I had a buddy that was into some wild shit, but one of his buddies.
Okay, I love how so many of your stories start out that way.
It's always a distant
This
friend.
guy I met in rehab.
Right. So this dude worked at some like, it might have been the Gorilla Glue factory, but it was some like industrial factory, right? And they would clean the filters off one of the industrial machines to collect different chemical residues. And one of the residues was like a liquid that he could get that was called hexane. And it was like a clear liquid that I believe was used in glue, like in the 70s mostly. But dude, we had water bottles of it and you would like put it in paper bags and huff it. But the first time I ever fucked with it, he took the cap off the water bottle and I looked at it. And the smell was so strong, it gave me the womp womps. But it was, I'm not exaggerating, it was like the Matrix where the walls slammed.
Oh, shit.
Like one huff from like not a huff, like a sniff from like 6 inches away made your head like spin and the walls slam.
Oh, fuck.
And they would like chill at this apartment getting laid out for days huffing hexane.
Oh no,
dude, wild. It wasn't even fun. It was just wild.
I've done the whippets with the someone had one, they fill up the balloon and I did that a couple times and it was like I can't imagine doing that more than like once or twice in a night.
That duster, bro.
Like, it's like, thank God, because it only lasts a couple minutes, but like you get the like womp womp womp, and then it's like everything sucks for a minute and then it's gone. Like it's kind of cool and it's weird, and then it's like, okay, this is going on for a little bit, and like I didn't like it all that much.
Oh, dude, I love it. It's the best. Honestly, when I was like first getting sober again, I was like, I can't even have whipped cream in my house. Because like I would go down to like the fridge at like 1 a.m.
Hit that Ready Whip, boy.
Like, I'm about to get fucked up on whipped cream.
ruin a whole can of Ready Whip.
Dude, you get like 2 smackers out of it, and the whole can's condensed cream you can't get to.
Yep.
Hit up Kroger when they got a sale on the whipped cream.
We are talking about trying to make like whipped coconut cream, and we realized we could do it, but we'd need a whipped canister.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was into it. Then my boss said, if we do that, you have to be certain that your staff isn't going to be stealing and abusing the whipped cream canisters. And I had to think about it for a second. I was like, damn, I can't guarantee that.
I can't promise that, boss.
I definitely cannot promise that. Like, I would have to like lock them up in a locker and shit, and it's like it would just seem like a whole lot of work. And I was like, nah, fuck it, I'm not gonna go through all that shit.
Yeah, I bet that's a problem with so many kitchens too.
This, it just take one slow day, and then my ass is gonna be like, let me just go take this whipped cream canister into the walk-in right quick.
Right. What about the vampires? That's too much.
Yeah, once again, I think the aesthetic's kind of cool in a cosplay way. I mean, I think that should be said for like all goth shit. I think it's a fun style.
It's all fun
kind of thing. But yeah, the people that are like seriously believe that they're vampires and stuff like that, that like live as vampires and stuff, yeah, that's too much.
I will say I have done the blood vial stuff.
It's too much, Steven.
I know.
It's fucked.
Now the trick is, because it coagulates right away. So there's 2 different herbs you can use, and I think one of them's turmeric.
It's the green herb and the red herb.
And then you mix them together. And
yeah, you mix it with the chem fluid, and...
Oh, yeah, dude. But I think it is turmeric, but one other one, it's like in your mom's pantry for sure, and you can mix it with blood, and it stays liquid in a sealed jar. It's kind of fun. But I'm all for like blood play in sex, but the weird people that try to live as a vampire, and then there's actually cases where they develop immune disorders where they actually do need blood for an iron deficiency.
That's fucked.
Because they're staying out of the sun so much that it becomes like...
yeah.
It's like in their head becomes real because they start actually needing other people's blood with iron. And the iron they're getting from other people's blood isn't actually helping, but they think it is.
Yeah.
So it becomes like a real condition. If you're living like a vamp, that's too much. That's too much.
Fucked. Go take some vitamins, dog.
Yeah, take a multivitamin and go outside.
Yeah, go sit outside. Get some sun on your face. Just calm down, man.
It's gonna be okay.
Oh, fucking A.
So, where are you at with it?
With my goth
your
heritage?
Gothness. Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a kind of a return of some goth a little bit.
You're going back
mostly because I have going back in. Only because at least in the last year or so, I've had so much time off of work, I can like focus on art and like get a little more creative. And it's not really goth, I guess. I'm just getting more creative with like my aesthetics and shit like that.
Yeah.
Although recently, like within the last couple of years, I've started liking colors. For once, like, as around me, like I've always liked having, like I want black everything, fucking black walls, black, furniture, fucking everything black. But like I recently got into like using LED lights and shit. And like I like having the color in my room, and I like some, colors, clothing and stuff like that, usually complemented by black. But
right.
It's a hopping off point.
Your light game's on point though.
Yeah, man, I do good with that. It makes my entertainment system and everything look, feel a lot nicer. And it became a necessity at my my studio apartment. I just needed something to not feel like I was in, the four white walls kind of situation.
Right. It's like a institution when all your shit's white because you're in a rented apartment all the time. It's like,
right.
Now, are you rocking the nails right now?
Yeah, actually, I got to redo mine tonight. They're getting all chipped up and shitty. I started doing that again over pandemic. I would say it to my one of my employees all the time. My last job, that I was like, I didn't want to do my nails because you're not supposed to when you work with food.
Yeah.
And it's like, I realized, we're going to be wearing gloves all the fucking time anyways, especially with this pandemic. Like I almost always was perma-gloved up, but like now we definitely have to be. And it's like, I'm going to fucking start painting my nails.
Yeah.
And, I did it when I was younger, of course. And, but it was always like black. And like now I'm actually using colors and shit and doing different goofy shit with them.
I like the flat matte black a lot sometimes. But
yeah, I just found out about the matte top coat shit.
Yeah.
That changes the game. Because the only thing I didn't like about it was like, it's all glossy. And like, I don't want it to be shiny. And it's like, that's the other one, is like trying to find cool colors that don't have glitter in them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want fucking glitter in my nails. Like, it doesn't, I can see where with, some dudes could probably pull that off. I just don't like it.
No. Now, my go-to is you just get the cheapest black basic at Walmart. That's just the way to go. Or Walgreens.
Yeah. Fucking that Sally Hansen. Hansen.
I don't know. I've never stopped painting my nails, but they're always chipped. Like more times than not, there's almost nothing on it because I just rub it off all the time on accident. But yeah, I feel like I'm in not give a fuck mode. Like I still want my colors like I've never worn any clothes since 15 maybe that aren't all black. I don't have a single colored piece of clothing at all.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen you wear colors either.
If I'm feeling really sporty, I'll wear a dark gray. And it's weird. I'm like, oh, look at me today. But like you said with color, so like with my art, it was always like blacks, whites, reds, mostly black and red or whatever when I was like drawing and stuff. And I became addicted to color. Like I jokingly have referred to myself as a chromatic addict because I'm obsessed with color now, and I'll spend hours and hours just fucking with color in art, but I want all of my like personal stuff to be black, and then it's like color is solely reserved for art. I don't know. Feels important that way. It's really stupid. But
now, do you have a favorite color combination?
Black and red. If I'm
okay, two colors that aren't black.
Purple and green is really good. I like that lime sickly green with a slightly pale purple.
I've been rocking cyan and purple.
That's a good one too.
Like a tealish, yeah.
Some compliments.
It's fun.
Now I will say, definitely as an adult. So like, I somehow forgot to mention it in the depression episode, but like self-mutilation stuff has been a huge part of my life. Very into self-mutilating, but at a certain point, it's kind of acceptable as a goth teen, but as like an adult, you can't like always have fresh scars all over you, right?
Yeah.
And I do think it's like not good for you, but if you're already not doing well, I think it can be used as a release.
Yeah, I've never related enough to that. One of those, like, I kind of tried to. I dated a girl in high school that did that, and like trying to like understand like how it helps. Like, we did like some blood play kind of stuff, and it was like, I just don't get it. Like now I have, I didn't get a release of endorphin or anything, and like now I have this cut on my shoulder or whatever. It's weird. Like now I got to go put something on here so it doesn't bleed on my shirt. Like,
I have an infected forearm. I see both sides of it because it's definitely not a healthy practice. But I think when done sparingly as a ritual, there can be like healing elements to it. That said, most of the time I did it was not healing.
It was just so you could get some more ink for that liquid diary.
That was a large part of it because I was painting with it all. But so as an adult, it's like you can't do that. So tattoos have replaced that for me.
I can see that
very much. Where it's like, scars and branding stuff is great, but I want something more permanent or as more widely accepted as art kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it sucks because you can't do it as often, but it's kind of a bigger ritual when you can.
You know what else I think I realized about the cutting and stuff? Like now, especially with my career choice, I cut myself enough as it is, which isn't very often lately. I've gotten a lot better at it. But like going up through culinary shit, like I've got enough cuts and injuries and
I don't want any more
and shit like that. Yeah, I'm good. I know what that's like. That sucks. That means I got to stop what I'm doing and go put a, try to stop the bleeding real quick so I can keep working with food. And then I have to wear a glove for the rest of the day with, gloved up with a Band-Aid on so I don't bleed into food.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, like when I was in high school, I was very proud of one with scars because I had so much scar tissue. But as an adult, it's like, you don't want to be on a job. Like, I'm definitely not ashamed of it, but it makes you look like a legit crazy person. You're like,
yeah,
I'm building your pool today.
Yeah.
So where are we at?
I'm doing your medical coding.
Right. I know. Jesus Christ. It's going to be long sleeves my entire career.
Yeah. You put this in the notes, and I thought it was funny because I never really thought of it. You put, have you ever heard a goth claim to be a goth or part of goth subculture? The goth subculture, I've never heard people be like, I mean, I've heard people be like, "Oh, I'm goth." It's like, I'm not emo, I'm goth. That was a thing when we were growing up. Was like the difference between emo kids and goth kids and shit like that. But
out of that context,
like people that were like way into like the goth, like post-punk subculture shit that were like, I've never heard that. I mean, like the only goths I really knew were in, high school, maybe some in college, but never really had all that. I mean, to that degree, the people that were like, "Oh, I'm goth, I'm not emo." They were real proud to be goth.
And they really didn't want to be emo. But
yeah, they really didn't want to be emo.
But it was funny because the people that would say that probably still listen to like AFI or like My Chemical Romance or the same
absolutely.
Band. Yeah, but I just don't think there's really a thing as like Gothic pride. And I kind of meant that as a shitty joke because I don't think a lot of people that are goth have a lot of pride. But I've never heard someone like proudly say like, "Yeah, I'm goth." I just don't think that it connects that way.
Oh, fucking shit. You're right.
It's too sad to have pride.
Right. We're all going to die anyways. What's the point?
What's the point? What's the point of pride?
So that being said, so observers have raised the issue of what degree individuals are truly members of the goth subculture. On one end of the spectrum is the uber goth, the people that wear all the heavy makeup and their entire closet's full of black leather and lacy shit.
Those German goths.
Yeah, really.
Those are the KMFDM fans.
On the other end, you have the people that are deemed as posers, the goth wannabes, kids going through a goth phase who, they don't hold to the goth sensibilities but they just want to be a part of the crowd. So that, the mall goth, people, it's a teen that dresses in the goth style and they spend their time in like Hot Topic and shit. But they don't know about like the subculture and the music and stuff like that. And I thought this was interesting. In one case, even a well-known performer has been labeled as a poser. A number of goths, especially those belonging to the subculture before the late 1980s, reject Marilyn Manson because he, quote, undermines the true meaning of goth.
Dude, how can you reject Manson?
I mean,
That's king
really what all this research has done is reinforce that, what I've already known, I'm sure you already knew too, that goths are hella exclusive, and typically like there's a lot of haters that just want to ride the like, we're real goth because we've been doing it for longer than you have thing.
And Marilyn Manson's music definitely isn't classic goth, but it's like he's like the modern goth identity.
Yeah, you can't keep making the same music over and over and over again.
No, and honestly,
you have to improve upon it and do something. Yeah, Cure does suck.
Like a couple.
I've never gotten into, like I said, the punk music or like goth music and stuff. I just can't.
The Cure
grab
is like
onto it.
What most real goths claim as real goth music, and there's an album or two that's okay, but none of it's good. None of it's good. Marilyn Manson is better than The Cure.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Just for the fun of it.
Yeah, in the way that I would listen to Marilyn Manson, I wouldn't listen to The Cure.
Did I ever tell you in high school?
Tell me.
I had this gym class. I had a gym class where one of our semesters we had to do an interpretive dance to pass our gym class. I'm not very happy with that personally. That sounds like you're setting yourself up to be bullied. The school's setting you up to be bullied. Yeah, this gym coach, he was like the super jock guy, right? But he knew I was like super fucked up, so he was always super nice to me, right? And it was I as an adult, I appreciate his efforts. Like he was trying to like connect or reach out to me. But at the time, it definitely made things way worse because he was always trying to be like super cool with me. And we'd be like in gym class and he'd be like, well, we're playing dodgeball today. Let's listen to Marilyn Manson because I know Steve likes me. Like shit like that. And then like we do this interpretive dance thing and he tells me I have to do Marilyn Manson.
God damn it.
Dude, I wish I had a video of it so bad because I'm sure I was like so fucking angry. But oh my god!
Do you remember the goth kids from South Park?
Yeah, they were fun.
There was one where they were dancing to something and it was just like they step one way and then they step the other way and they step one way.
See,
it's like
that's where shoegaze came from.
Yeah,
that holds because you're gazing at your shoes the whole time. Oh man. Yeah, Marilyn Manson, it's the best. I
don't know about the best, but
it's the best of the worst. I mean, it would be a fun show.
I can work with that.
Yeah, it'd be a fun show. The BBC described academic research that indicates that our goths are refined. What is the BBC doing?
Right?
That goths are refined and sensitive, keen on poetry and books, not big on drugs or antisocial behavior. I think that's probably true. It's mostly just weird art kids.
Yeah.
Teens often stay in the subculture into their adult life, and they are likely to become well-educated and enter professions such as medicine or law. That, I don't know about that.
Dr. Professor Steven right here.
Damn it. The subculture carries on appealing to teenagers who are looking for meaning and for identity. A study conducted by the University of Glasgow involving 1,258 youths interviewed at ages 11, 13, 15, and 19 found goth subculture to be strongly nonviolent and tolerant, thus providing valuable social and emotional support to teens vulnerable to self-harm and mental illness. I do think that is true. It's a very sensitive, dramatic group.
And that's the way I always saw the Juggalo thing too, was like it's a group of people that you can feel a part of and you don't feel like a fucking weirdo, and like when you do feel like a weirdo, you feel proud of it because it's like, but I still have like these people that get me.
Right.
Like I'm not so weird that I'm on my own. I have, a group.
Honestly,
kind of
I've always really not liked most Juggalo music, but I always was envious of the family aspect, because it is so cool what they built.
Yeah.
It's so fucking cool.
There's no, comparing that to anything else, or, you can't talk shit on that because it is a really cool.
And they started by
community.
just writing their shows on napkins. Like, they really built something. It's cool as fuck. And I still can't believe the FBI tried to make them did make them a gang, right? I think they got removed off of it.
I'm not sure if that's actually true or not.
Wow.
I know they had talked about it, but I don't think they actually did yet.
Interesting. There definitely, unfortunately, is links. How do I phrase this? Goth stuff in school shootings. It's a thing, but it's not quite the thing it's always made out to be.
Right.
Also, my personal favorite, and it got me in trouble quite a bit, was Columbine. Because I was always wearing Columbine shirts.
It got you in trouble because you're not supposed to have a favorite school shooting.
I know, but they were the saints at the time. It was Saint Eric and Saint Dylan. I was all about it, but
it's so fucked. But yeah,
I don't know how. Like, I don't understand how they let me wear that shit at all. In the weeks following the 1999 Columbine High School massacre, a media report was about the teen gunmen. Eric Harris, Dylan Klebold portrayed them as part of the Gothic cult, and they really weren't. They were just two weird kids on their own. Trenchcoat Mafia. An increased suspicion of Goth subculture subsequently manifested in the media. They tied it to the Satanic Bible. What was the other big things? Eric, I think Eric was into like Nazi stuff, but there was like Satanic Bible and all kinds of fun stuff in the rooms. This led to moral panic over teen involvement in Goth subculture and a number of other activities, such as violent video games that they were really into. Harris and Klebold had initially been thought to be members of the Trenchcoat Mafia, which sounds cool as shit, but it was just the name for them, those two people. And it was an informal club within the school, whatever. Later, such characteristics were considered incorrect. Now, I'm going to skip it. I typed something mean. I'll skip it. All right, I'll let you get the next one.
Yeah. So this was a different school shooting. The 2006 Dawson College shooting in Quebec. The media reported that the gunman, Kimveer Gill, I think that's how the name is pronounced, was interested in Goth subculture. Self-professed love of Goth culture was the topic of media interest, and it was widely reported that the word Goth in Gill's writings was a reference to alternative industrial and Goth subculture, rather than a reference to Gothic rock music. Gill, who committed suicide after the attack, wrote on his online journal, "I'm so sick of hearing about jocks and preps making life hard for the Goths and others who look different or are different." Gill describes himself in his profile on vampirefreaks.com as, quote, Trench, the angel of death, unquote. And he stated that metal and goth kick ass.
Yeah.
An image gallery on Gill's vampirefreaks.com blog had photos of him pointing a gun at the camera or wearing a long black trench coat.
Oh my God. Dude.
The thing about this though is like, I almost want to read this next part before I
go for it.
Talk about this. So Mick Mercer stated that Gill was not a goth, never a goth. The bands he listed as his chosen form of ear bashing were relentlessly metal and standard grunge, rock, and goth metal, with some industrial presence. Mercer stated that Kimveer Gill listened to metal. He had nothing whatsoever to do with goth.
Yeah.
Like, okay, bud, thanks for clearing that up for us. He didn't listen to The Cure.
I know he just murdered some people, but he didn't even listen to goth music.
Yeah, so like what's not important here is like the music that he listened to. What's important is that like the person that goes around shooting people is a person that's, fucked up anyways.
Yeah.
And like maybe they wouldn't have acted on it if there weren't other pressures going on in their life, but like no matter how stressed or like, beat down I felt or like we're bullying or whatever, like I never ever got to the point where like I'm gonna bring a gun to school. You know, that never even crossed my mind as something that I was going to do. Or if it did, it was definitely wasn't something that I would have acted on.
See, I was way too close, but I would have pulled you aside, and it would have been like in Columbine. I would have told you like, "Hey man, don't show up tomorrow."
Yeah. Well, you know,
don't show up tomorrow, man.
Well, but the other thing is like, but you didn't, you know.
Exactly. And there's a big no matter how close you are, it's either did or didn't kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you can think about, you know, going up and like clocking somebody, you know, for being a dick, but like, you know, there's things that hold you back, and it's like, yeah, but that's not going to fix anything. It's not going to matter. So like, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Like, it doesn't really help the situation at all. So you know, you don't go do it, you know, because, you know, doing something because, you know, it's a shitty thing to do. Like this person is, they have the cringy goth kid persona that I think so many people we knew of,
Yeah.
you know, growing up were, you know, the Trench, the angel of death. That's like Sonic OC stuff when people make their own Sonic characters.
Dude.
And it's like Kyle the Hedgehog, you know, or, you know, some shit like that.
Dude, I really do think, like, I don't think I would have made it through high school without doing, like, something very similar unless I found drugs.
That sucks.
I really think that's what saved me from making so many bad decisions. It was other bad decisions, but, like, it was I don't think people realize a lot of times, especially the government, for most people, it's a form of self-medication. And, like, I think without those things, without finding an interest in a different direction, I think I would have shot a school up. So glad I didn't. Jesus.
Yeah, right? Hey, man, you'd be in jail right now.
Yeah. Do you remember vampirefreaks.com?
I super don't.
It was so funny, man.
Was it just like MySpace for goth kids?
It was MySpace for vampires and Gothic. It was. I remember even having a page on it and thinking it was so funny because it came about later. But now there's better ones. If you want to be into that stuff, you do the adult version, and it's like the fetish life sites and stuff. Those get more fun.
Now I will say I just have this flash memory. Back when MySpace was a thing, I definitely had pictures of me with an airsoft gun that we'd colored the tip black, like pointed at the camera. I'm sure I did one of those.
I had a bunch of those, like with real ones.
And I did have I did have a black trench coat. It wasn't like the Matrix trench coat, kind of like sleek or whatever. It was like a big like Undertaker, you know,
nice.
Long like trench coat.
That was a fun time. I feel like if you gave every goth kid a kitten, like a month later they would be okay.
This is my my fundraiser, my charity I'm starting. Kittens for goth kids.
Dude, that would be somebody needs to write a thesis paper on it.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm down to do that kind of research.
Let's start a charity, bro. The Trashcats charity.
It's gonna home some you know kitties that need, you know, a new home, and you know it's gonna make some goth kids, you know, not want to cut themselves or shoot up their school.
Except like 1 out of every 10 is gonna get sacrificed in a.
Oh God.
I do see some problems with this idea, but
cut the program. Stop the program.
But I think we could help a lot of goth kids.
Speaking on the trench coat, I want to talk about the bullying, because that is a prominent thing with, you know, goth people, and you know the part of their culture is getting bullied. When I had my black trench coat, I think I wasn't quite 16 yet, because I remember I was taking the bus to school, the city bus. I don't know, I was probably like 14 or 15. Anyways, I went over to David's house one day, and his brother and his friends asked me, "So how much do clothes cost in the Matrix?" Like the line from 40-Year-Old Virgin. No, it was at Grandma's Boy. Mm. With the one dude that acts like he's fucking Neo or some shit. Also, the only time I ever felt like I was getting bullied or like getting picked on in school really was, you remember Andy Biersack?
No.
I think he might have left before you got there. So, Andy Biersack is actually, he's famous now, as the lead singer. I don't think he's the lead singer. I don't know. A member of Black Veil Brides.
Yeah, I know who it is. I never met him.
Yeah. He, apparently he like openly talks about like how, you know, anti-bullying and like how he got bullied in school, but like people thought he was cool in school, and he had dissed on me and a couple of my friends for being juggalos and shit. So
called him out.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
I hate that band.
I always thought that, you know, I thought he was a poser. I thought he, you know, kind of shitty anyways. I didn't think he was that cool. One of the coolest things he ever did was in a commercial for meth addiction.
What?
Yeah, he got flown out to LA for like a couple weeks or something. He got to take off school so he could film an anti-meth commercial.
What the fuck's
where
wrong
he's like,
with meth?
He's like shaking in the, you know, in an alleyway, like talking about like, can I suck your dick, you know, kind of thing. So,
bro,
I don't think he actually said that.
I would rather do a pro-meth commercial than an anti-meth commercial any day of the week.
This is crystal methany.
Oh, man. I mean, it's definitely a thing, but I don't know. Just everybody be cool.
Do you feel like you were ever bullied for your goth aesthetic?
Definitely, but I quickly learned. It quickly taught me how to defend myself or like fight back. I don't necessarily
pushing kids into lockers.
Yeah. I don't necessarily regret any of it for those reasons. I definitely in some like ghetto situations. There were times like I definitely think some of the times I got jumped or had to fight were directly related to it. But here's one of the best insults I ever got. I had a dude stop his car in the middle of traffic to lean out the window, and he said, "You look like Rob Zombie, and I bet you do magic tricks," and drove off. And I remember just laughing so hard and being like,
fuck, that's super good.
I remember being like, fuck yeah, that was the best thing I've heard all day.
You just got roasted and you can't even be mad about it. That was
Drive-by roast.
Like, damn, dude, I do look like Rob Zombie and I probably do magic tricks.
Yeah. I mean, people definitely fucked with me a lot because of it, but I think it's shitty, but people are going to be shitty anyway. You know what I mean? I feel like I get... So on the topic of bullying, I do want to say, like, I think I understand a little bit of the perspective where people say, like, you know, bullying makes kids, you know, stronger or whatever. Like, to a point, yeah, like, there's a little bit of that can do that, but, like, there can definitely be a point where, you know, too much of it is not going to do that. It's going to go completely the opposite way. I mean, that's what half... I don't think you can say all of the school shootings are directly the result of bullying, but it's a factor in many of them. It's definitely not necessarily even the biggest factor, but it's a factor.
Yeah, true.
People treat people shitty. It's definitely a thing.
Do you want to pick up this next part here?
Yeah, I forget where we are.
We are where my marker is.
Okay. In part of public misunderstanding surrounding goth aesthetics, people in the goth subculture sometimes get singled out or picked on, definitely, as in the case with members of various other subcultures and alternative lifestyles. Outsiders sometimes marginalize goths, either by intention or by accident. I think a lot of it's intention, but that's the thing, though, is like I wish my younger self realized, like, yeah, you're getting singled out because you're singling yourself out all the time.
Yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
It doesn't mean you shouldn't be yourself, but it's also like kind of a realistic expectation. And I do think people now judge way less than they did even when we were in school. And the generation of goths ahead of us, even that much more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People have chilled out a lot with it.
I found this quote. So the actress Christina Hendricks, she talked of being bullied as a goth at school and how difficult it was for her to deal with societal pressure. First of all, I'd love to see Christina Hendricks all gothed out.
Who's that?
She was in Mad Men and
Oh, she Betty?
the redhead.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids can, so this was her quote, kids can be pretty judgmental about people who are different, but instead of breaking down and conforming, I stood firm. This is also probably why I was unhappy. My mother was mortified and kept telling me how horrible and ugly I looked. Strangers would walk by with a look of shock on their face, so I never felt pretty. It was just I always just felt awkward. So I left that in because it stood out to me, the teenage angsty defiance of, like, you know, even though realizing that, like, this is, you know, I'm getting judged and, you know, people are kind of picking on me for it. Like, I'm going to keep doing this more or doing it harder because people don't like it.
Right.
You know,
it locks you in.
Yeah. Which, you know, it does help, like, you know, makes you stand your ground a little more and understand what's going on. But, like, you know, like she said in that quote, like, that's probably why she was unhappy, because she just kept pushing against the grain, which, you know, that is kind of what makes you stronger and kind of more self-aware a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Pushing against the grain.
Do you remember that song Institutionalized by
Yes.
Suicide? Dude,
I fucking love that song.
It's the best. My buddy that
All I wanted was a Pepsi.
All I wanted was a Pepsi. My buddy that I would huff the hexane with had the Pepsi cap tattooed on his wrist. I always thought that was really good.
Yeah.
There definitely is something to you, like the rebellion aspect of it all. It's just like a sadder. It's too sad to be punk, but it's still a rebellion.
Yeah. You're not tired. You're on drugs.
A more recent phenomenon is goth YouTubers who address the prejudice against goth. I think it's cool. People, it's silly though. It's silly to get online and be like, they're bullying me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
you just gotta fight them or something.
Well, I think it's cool that it was a thing that, like, people are able to do, I guess. And, like,
right.
Once that became more of like I don't know, once it became like YouTube, where, you know, first started, or like, you know, Facebook groups started and stuff like that, where you could talk about it, like, that was one thing. But, like, I don't know, it just seems like now that there's awareness that, like, that's a thing, and I don't know, that might just be a, you know, a self-contained thing that, like, now that people know, it's like, now that I'm aware that this is a problem or whatever. And I guess, I don't know, it just seems like it's too much now. Like, it's like, it's not necessary anymore. All the information's out there. Like, it's not new. I mean, I'm sure it is new experiences because it's different people. I don't know.
They should let kids duel in school.
Yeah, man.
Like you get to call somebody out, and if you're both willing, you go to the gym with boxing gloves.
You know, or even like those where they have like the big foam padded, you know, kendo sticks on either side, and
that'd be great. You know. I'd be dueling every day. I'd work my way through the stack.
Fighting teachers and shit.
Often the YouTube stuff, they personally reply to viewers with messages and videos, talk about their experiences. These interactions take the form of informal mentoring, which can contributes to the building of solidarity within the goth scene. This informal mentoring becomes an aid to coping with problems that they face. Now, we kind of touched on the self-harm stuff, but there was also this study published by the British Medical Journal that concluded with identification as belonging to goth subculture at some point in the person's life was the best predictor of self-harm and attempted suicide among teens. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. And that was possibly due to the selection mechanism. Persons that wanted to harm themselves later identified as goths, thus raising the percentage of those persons who identify as goths.
Yeah, they had a kind of a shitty pool of people they picked on that one.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't disagree with this, you know, with the statistics of this.
But it was high.
Yeah. So well, I just mean, like, if they're picking people that are, you know, that wanted to harm themselves.
I feel like a ton of teenagers do, though.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, so I don't know.
It's hard to know what level of seriousness that is, you know? It's such a range. So according to the Guardian, some Goth teens are more likely to harm themselves or attempt suicide. A medical journal study of 1,300 Scottish school children in their teens found that 53% of the Goth teens had attempted to harm themselves and 47% had attempted suicide. Damn, that is large.
Yeah.
The study found that the correlation was stronger than any other predictor. Wow. The study was based on a sample of 15 That's bad. 15 teenagers who identified as Goths, of which 8 had self-harm by any method, 7 had self-harm by cutting, scratching, or scoring, and 7 had attempted suicide. But they chose 15 kids that half of them are Goth.
Yeah, so the authors held that most of the self-harm by teens is done before joining the culture, the Gothic subculture. The study, they cautioned that the study was based on a small sample size. They needed replication to confirm the results and stuff like that. So it was criticizing for only having the small sample and not taking into account other influences and stuff like that. So it is a pretty small study, but I can't even say that it's completely inaccurate. Just from personal experience like that, those kind of numbers make sense. As far as like percentages of like Goth kids that I knew and like the kind of self-harm kind of shit they would do or self-deprecating, behavior and stuff, like, yeah, that makes sense.
I think a lot of them like try or experiment with it and then it doesn't stick.
Yeah, that might be true too. Yeah,
it's hard to know what those numbers. I don't think it's inaccurate that like half try to hurt themselves at some point,
but they're not like doing it on a regular basis or.
And what's a scratch? Who the fuck says that's really hurting yourself? Like
that's what you do doing good sex or something. You just get them good scratches on their yeah.
Yeah, you just
that's part of it.
Yeah, or even just like real. You know what I mean? Like if you're
that's
yourself,
endorphins.
Unless you're really trying to hurt yourself, you're not damaging shit. You know what I mean?
Going across the road, not down the street.
Exactly.
So like I said, the study was criticized because they didn't take into account certain influences, and one of the things was they didn't take into account the differences between types of Goths is one of the things that they were critical of, which I thought was a funny line because it's like, oh, but how many of them were steampunk kids? How many of them were cyber Goths? Were they like mall Goths or were they like Uber Goths? Are the mall Goths more at risk to, cut themselves? Like, because they're getting called a poser all the time by the other Goth kids.
I'm really struggling with this episode to take it seriously at all. I don't know. It's very funny.
It's really good.
Man, shit. All right. So we're kind of... do you want me to do the surprise thought?
Yeah, man, do it.
Okay, little thought experiment. We looked at that artist, Little Castle, earlier.
Yeah.
Tell me about your dream castle. You're King Goth. You're in sandbox mode, in your God mode, video game, whatever. You get to craft your castle. What are you doing?
All right. So
what are the basic moves, details? Give me your moves.
Tall. Okay, so definitely like turrets on all sides and corners, for shooting arrows from and shit like that, right? And then like tall, thick, like impenetrable wall kind of situations. Like something that's like so intimidating just by appearance that it's oppressive. And then I kind of like, the German architecture, kind of like the old school, like exposed wood and shit like that. I do like the Gothic windows.
Yeah.
With the pointed top, I always thought those were cool, like the Notre Dame shits and whatever. But like not like really decorative shit. Like it's got to be like dark and fucking depressive looking on the outside. On the inside,
that's a twist.
On the inside, I want it to be like comfy, like cabin,
plush.
Yeah.
Stuffed
just, like,
animals everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Beanie Babies wall to wall.
Many, many shelves from my Beanie Babies collection, which will be worth something someday. I'm sure of it.
For my Pokemon card
For all my
collection and
Pokemon
Beanie
cards.
Babies. You gotta protect that treasure, dog.
I want like comfort on, the inside. Like I like still some of the, like how they have like exposed wood and stuff like that, and like exposed like the commercial industrial bits of it. Like I still want to be able to see the stone and the woodwork and stuff from the inside, but I want it to be also complemented by like like a nicer, finer wood floor, and like I guess I kind of think of like some of the nicer homes in Skyrim you can make, where it's like kind of old schooly stonework and woodwork and stuff like that, but on the inside, but on the outside, like oppressive and dismal. Is kind of how I picture that. And then outside of the wall, a mile long by mile wide field full of impaled bodies like Vlad.
Yes. That's what I was going to ask. Are you doing moats or are you doing the spike field?
Oh, I'm doing the spike field for sure.
It's a great way to go.
Thou shalt not pass.
You have the clouds of ravens eating the flesh off the pikes and
I'm bringing in exotic animals from all over the world that some of these people ain't never seen before.
Yes, like gorillas chained to your moat, or to the front gate.
Oh no, they're not chained. They're roaming around.
Chilling.
And they're feeding on. They're attacking the oncoming people. That's how they get fed.
I like it.
Yeah, it's brutal as fuck. It's evil.
It's brutal, but no one's trying to attack yours because it looks like a real hassle on the outside.
Yeah, but but then they come inside and it's Beanie Babies.
You're like, hey, we're kicking it in here. Come on,
we got this Yu-Gi-Oh tournament coming up, dog.
You'd be a fun king. You'd be a fun goth king.
Fucking Seto Kaiba's here. We're gonna kick it, dude.
Hell yeah.
We're gonna fucking duel with the cards.
I like it.
What's your castle look like?
So I'm thinking something. I really like the Russian style castles where their spires are cool. I don't like the colors they use. Yeah. So everything that isn't like black brick is getting painted a flat black, right? Mm-hmm. But I want some of those real pointy Russian-y spires. And then I really like almost like a Japanese castle where you have the little shrines.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that. I love those.
Where you get the shrines going up the curled steps, like a single, like those really wide steps, like platforms spiraling to your towering cat. I don't want it too tall, but I want lots of spiky spheres. And then I want the tops of the castle lined with like a more medieval style, like spiky barbed wire, like the almost like the black metal nails, where it's just like rows of like the prison spikes and shit. And I want all stained glass windows everywhere, but I want them with like maybe black and amber glass, so they really don't let much light in, but it'd be like a weird shine on the inside, but on the outside it'd be like spots of this black stained glass. I really liked your pike idea, but I think mine's going up more, so I'm thinking at the bottom of like the crazy stairs, black marble stairs, of course, but I want like a moat of some sort around like the gate, or at the end, either before or after the stairs leading to the crazy gate, which would be like a mouth of some like demon thing. But to have the moat filled with some, like you said, exotic animals. I'm thinking like my classic would be gators, and the kind with the thin snout. I forget what those are called. Those are wicked.
Caimans?
Yeah, like some some albino caimans.
Ooh, yeah.
On this whole black castle, and then at the gate with the demon mouth on top of the spot, like the wall right above the gate, either above or below, or maybe both. I want a bunch of white tigers chained to the gate. Keep everybody.
Okay, yeah.
My albino alligators and tigers will keep everybody out.
The now I'm trying to think of like how I could backtrack, and like now I'm thinking the Japanese castles, but I still want the round, like tall, like, you know, wizard towers on all the corners with the turrets in them. Like that's still a huge part of mine. But like I think you were talking about black, you know, blacked out. I think dark gray, so that on a night sky it completely disappears. And then,
but the black would too.
There's a thing with like stealth stuff where like too black and it stands out amongst the darkness.
Yeah, it might depend on it. At dusk, it might show more too,
Yeah.
like the right time.
Now, if we're talking about, you know, during the age of castles, that's one thing. But if we're talking about like we could build this today, I would like to do like smoke machines or like fog things at nighttime, and then have projectors with like dragons and like weird crazy shit, like flashes of, you know, like lightning and shit, like always around, you know, the castle as another like, oh fuck, you don't go there, man. There's some wild shit going on over there.
You've seen the projected graffiti?
Yeah.
That stuff would be cool. They have your castle getting graffitied up with the projector stuff. That'd
Especially, you know, if it does disappear kind of with the night sky, and then you could project shit onto it and it's just like floating, kind of looks like it's floating in the air.
I was about to say, Howl's Moving Castle, you could have it floating.
Oh boy, Howl's Moving Castle.
In the clouds, you know what I mean? How would your castle move if you had to pick one method?
Does it have to be realistic?
Nah.
Well, I mean, it's a moving castle. Of course it doesn't have to be realistic, you fucking idiot. I mean, I do really like the whole, like, things on legs idea. I think that's cool.
Isn't
I think,
that
like,
from Russian mythology? I forget which the bird leg thing is from something.
Oh, maybe. That kind of makes sense.
I think it's a Russian.
It sounds like some Russian shit.
They're weird. The Tsars were cool, though.
Yeah, this, even the name of the Tsar as your leader, that's
right?
cool.
That's where Caesar came from. It's either I might have it backwards. Either Caesar or Tsars. One of them came from the other, and that's why the other word came to be. Cool. I think it's Tsar came from Caesar, right? Because the Romans were first.
It's one of my favorite Mastodon albums was Crack the Sky.
It's a good name.
It's a really good fucking name, but the whole thing is like a astral projection, like a quadriplegic astral projects, and they're in the body of like a what's his name, like a Rasputin character, kind of figure, and they're in between, you know, this battle and this, you know, kind of warring kind of a state of, you know, deception and shit that they're getting involved with the Tsar and other shit like that. Really fucking cool. Super not on topic of goth shit, but
that's all good. How's your castle moving?
Man, I don't want to say the Howl's Moving Castle way, because it sounds like such a cop out answer. But you put that image in my head, and it's like, that's really fucking cool. That's cool. If not that, then, you know, if we're gonna go wild about it, like I like the castle in the sky idea. I like it. That's like floating.
I was gonna go for like the mist or a floating cloud. Yeah, because the marble steps up the clouds and shit would be fun.
Oh, or like not like moving, but like not like moving. It just teleports.
That's Castlevania. The castle does that.
Oh, okay. I never really played a lot of those.
There's a new anime of it that's actually really good. I don't like much anime, and it's pretty good. Is it of
Rondo of Blood? Or
I don't remember.
Aria's Sorrow?
I think it's actually Dracula. I think that's the character's name. Now, what is your treasure? Aside from your Beanie Babies, do you have one? I say we pick a treasure and one monster to hide it and bounce.
Ooh, okay. You go first.
I think I'm going to do a black Fabergé egg.
Okay.
Spiky black Fabergé egg. And I think I'm going to have... I'm not as big into the monster game, so I feel like either a regular animal, but it's going to be in a chamber full of just a pack of hyenas, just giggling over their Fabergé egg, and yet you'd have to slay all the hyenas to get to the egg.
Now, mine would be... So there would be rumors all around, the kingdom and the world of what kind of treasure, what wild thing that they've heard that, King Ricky's got.
Right.
And it would be, everything from, magical, mystical artifacts to, golds and, jewels and shit like that. And, but in reality, it's an empty box. It's all a bluff. There's nothing there.
I dig it. Who's protecting it? Yeah, I feel like you could have a Snorlax.
Well, I was going to say an undead army. Like, make it seem like way over the top, like, to protect nothing at all.
God damn it.
But yeah, if I can get a Snorlax in there, fuck yeah, that's my boy. No, because he'd be down there, like, protecting the shit like I want to be chilling with my Snorlax.
True. Yeah, we'd have to...
Get some shittier Pokemon down there and...
Next time we'll make
put a couple of Rhyhorns down there or some shit. Couple Diglets in there.
Guard the treasure. Oh, shit.
You fucking idiot. Good.
This whole episode just reminded me. I said it earlier. I was like, we're fucking idiots.
Yeah.
This is a hell of an episode. I loved it. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
I like the creating stuff games. Those are fun.
Yeah, that's fun. It's, especially if we're playing in the world that, it could be anything.
Yeah. I hope you guys get to create your own fun castles. Is there anything we want to say?
Email us and tell us what your castle would be.
Yeah, and give your neighborhood goth kid a kitten, or at least be nice to them.
Gaslight them. Start giving them, like candy bars and stuff, and just leave it on their doorstep and run away. They won't know what's going on. Is it going to make their conditions worse? Probably.
But you gotta try.
You gotta try.
Shit.
So thanks again for listening, everybody. Thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at Approaching-Human.
Thanks, John.
You can make sure to check out the show page at Trashcats on Instagram for news and art from the show. Also check out our Reddit at TrashcatsXTrashcast.
I will offer, if somebody else, it can't be us first, but if other people are willing to post their shitty high school photos, I'll see if I can find my shitty ones. Yeah, okay, I'm down with that. All right. And if you're super bored, you can check out my trashy art on Instagram at Skyzix, SKYZICX. It's pretty goth. Yeah. It's pretty goth. Yeah. Shouts out to the neighborhood goth kids and our honorable mentions. Who did we do today? Yamamoto and Little Castle at Castle BASAS and Velvet Acid Christ. God, yeah, man. Fuck. Tune in next Wednesday for an episode on what are we doing? Memory, right? Yeah. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do. That'll be fun. Yeah. Dude, every time we talk about it, I can't remember the episode. Can't remember that memory episode? Yeah, there's a thing there. That's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy. Go fast, eat trash.